Folks, we're ready to call our meeting to order. Could get a roll call vote, please. Get a roll call, please.
Chairman Winters.
Here.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Here.
Board Member Rizal.
Here.
Board Member Rogers.
Here.
Board Member Stevens. Here.
Good. Ask everybody to stand with me and join in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the minutes from the January 13th meeting. We have any corrections?
I make a motion we approve the minutes from the last meeting of February the 10th.
I'll second.
Or January the 13th?
13.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right. We have a motion and a second. Get a roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Rizal.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Board Member Stevens. Yes. Chairman Winters.
Yes. Our first case on the docket tonight is 6619 State Line Road.
And we're going to take up some of these. This is number 4 on the agenda, 6619 State Line Road. My understanding, we're going to close that one.
Yes, it has a new buyer. They've been provided the paperwork and all that, so that'll be a whole other,
Are you here on that property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is your name?
I'm Wally Reese, one of the owners of Teddy Property Solutions. We recently purchased the property.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Reese, do we have contact information for you?
Not yet, I'm sure we will before we leave.
If you could, give it to Ms. Daysbrook, just to make sure we stay in communications. I know we're closing it. They may follow up in a few months, just to make sure. But let's get contact information. Okay.
I'll make a motion to close.
Okay, we have a motion to close this case at 6619. We need a second.
Second.
Go ahead. We have a motion and a second. Get a roll call vote, please.
I'm sorry, who's seconded?
Rogers.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Rizal.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Board Member Stevens. Yes. Chairman Winters.
Yes. Our next property is 1619 Berry Road.
My understanding, that one's up for closure. Is that right, Ms. Daysbrook? I think so. I'm getting it. All right, so this one's up for closure.
Yes.
Okay, do we have the owner's contact information with regard to 1619 Berry Road?
Well, that's ours.
I thought-
This is one actually that we've got a contract to sell. We're going to close on the 6th, but it got put off to the 18th, so we just need to either move it to another date or whatever.
Oh.
We just go ahead and close it.
Well,
Well,
The
I
house
don't
has
want to,
been ordered to be demolished, and we were in agreement on that.
yeah, but we're in agreement with that, but when the new guys buy it, they're going to file for their permit to go ahead and do the.
Yeah.
Demolition on it.
Yeah.
Well, this thing's been going on over a year now.
Yeah, because I think you weren't here last time we were here.
Right, last month.
But we've got a buyer on it, and we're planning on closing on the 6th, and they know they're going to file for their demolition permit, and we had to set it off to the 18th to do the closing. So, we want to just put it on March 9th.
I'll be happy to make a motion that we pass 1619 Berry Road until next month, our next meeting, to make sure that
It does close.
it does close and the demolition
And
takes
if we
place.
get it closed, I'll have him go up there and get the permit.
Yeah, because we're gonna go ahead and take the property down to the ground if you don't.
Okay.
So, yeah, we can
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
fine with me.
Well, I know you're getting tired of driving up here from Atlanta.
That's all right.
Oh, my goodness.
do we have contact, or can you give Ms. Daysbrook the information for the new buyers?
I don't have it with me, but I can give her mine. You can call me.
All right, let's get that. All right, so did we get our motion?
We got a motion, have a motion and a second, get a roll call vote, we're gonna pass it 1 month.
Next March.
March 9th.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Next property is 5313 State Line Road.
This is another property, I believe, that we looking to close this one.
Yes,
All right. Is this property on the record?
The caregiver, which is his niece.
Okay, that's the handicapped individual at the deck. You're doing the interior work on it also.
Exterior, doing work for all of the contractors that were putting money in, collecting their names, so.
Speaking to the boss.
Ms. Statesboro, do you need any contact information for this property or the owner or caretaker?
to my knowledge, no. According to the update I got from Flynn, he said that they're continuing to work on the house, they've made more satisfactory improvement, and he's good with us closing the case and removing it from here, he'll just continue to keep in contact and monitor.
All right.
That way they don't have to keep coming back.
Let's go ahead and put your name.
My name is Lewis, Mayor.
Will.
Lewis, L-E-Y-S,
How do you spell your last name?
B-I-N-E-D-A.
And if you would give Ms. Statesboro your contact, email and telephone number so we can stay in contact. Okay. All right.
This is one that wanted to close.
Make a motion to close it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close this case out. Get a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens. Yes. Chairman Winters.
Yes.
Can we skip to number 9, Chairman?
Okay, the next on the agenda will be 3814 Altamire Drive. We have people representing that property here.
All right, I understand this is set for closing.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Now, this is a property sale.
Yeah, it's already sold, and I'm just, leave that guy to do work that he needs to do on it.
So you're wanting to close this
Yeah,
case?
absolutely.
Okay.
Make a motion, we close 3814 Altamira Drive.
Need a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Get a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens. Yes. Chairman Winters.
Yes.
Chairman, can we go to number 12, which I understand we're going to pass that one, is that correct?
Okay, 5346 Ringo Road. We have any representatives here from that property? Okay, so this case is going to be passed.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a motion on that.
Pass until the next meeting.
It'll be passed to the March meeting.
Okay. I make a motion, we pass 5346 Ringo Road till March 9th meeting.
I'll second.
I have a motion to second. Need a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens. Yes. Chairman Winters.
Yes.
Chairman, if we can skip to number 14, I understand that's set for closing.
The property 5504 Clemens Road. We have any representatives here from that property?
Ms. Statesboro, you're comfortable with recommending closure of this property?
Yes, the gentleman who has bought that property has already secured that small, really unstable structure, and he plans on taking it down, but right now it's completely boarded up.
Okay, they've already pulled permits on it to demolish it?
Not yet, but he's bought all of her properties, so he's just kind of going around securing them all, and he's got that one secured already, so I'm just gonna wait for him to demolish it, but there's no reason to keep it in here.
I make a motion that we close 5504 Clemens Road.
Have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to close the case out on 5504 Clemens Road.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Even though we're closing it, and we actually condemned it to be tore down and got a water, how long are we allowing it to sit there?
Well,
He's,
that's why I asked if he had purchased the demolition permit.
Like I said, he has it at the moment, but they're finishing up paperwork for him to buy, I think, 5 or 6 of her properties. And so he's kind of going around getting them all secured, figure out what he's gonna do. He stays in contact with us, he's a reliable guy, so I'm not worried about it sitting there whatsoever.
Our main concern with it before was the fact that there were
It was
homeless
open,
people going
Yes.
in and
yes,
squatting things there.
yep, and it's completely secured at this point.
And you have contact for the owner?
Yes.
In the event we need to bring it back?
Yep.
Okay.
If you feel better, we can pass it 30 days to make sure the paperwork's in order. It doesn't matter to me.
I can rescind it.
Pardon?
I will rescind my second if we want to do that.
Is there any need to keep it on the books more?
Other than it just sort of keeps it up here for consideration, it's something that you don't have to go through the formalities of actually filing another.
It keeps us in check and keeps everybody else in check. Yeah, I'll rescind my second. I think that's,
I'll remove my motion. I make a motion to pass this to March the 9th, 2010.
Okay. Yeah, we have a motion second, do roll call vote. We're going to pass the case on 5504 Clemens Road until the next meeting.
we might want to make it 2020, not 2010.
Right.
You okay with that, Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Okay, good. And if you had a time machine or what.
Yeah. Read.
Aren't you glad I'm here?
Why does it keep me straight?
Get a roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes.
All right, and Chairman, can we skip to 15? I understand that one's set to be passed as well.
Yes, so the representative for that property called me today. She's got stomach bugs, so she's not going to show up here today. We did go over and do an inspection on that one, and she's been calling different electricians to get estimates so they can come in and fix the electrical problems. The occupant that was there is gone, he was actually arrested, I guess, recently, so he ended up securing the property, so she's going to remove his stuff and put her own on, but she's going to keep in contact with me in terms of getting an electrician and all that, so.
I have a question in regards to that. Have you been in touch with Josh Creel in regards to Mr. Nash that was arrested at that address? Because a couple of days before he was arrested, he gave an address in Rossville, Georgia.
I mean, possibly.
So we set that up to be condemned, correct, till she got rid of
Yeah,
it?
it's completely, like, nobody is staying there, period. She does not want anybody in that house until,
My question is, if he went in and they arrested him there, then did he violate the codes content or
Yeah.
posting that you put there?
but I mean, he was going in at some points to get his stuff out, so,
Yeah.
I mean, yes and no.
I didn't know that it would be beneficial to the detectives to add any.
I can ask him about it.
Okay, if you will reach out to Josh and see, I mean, a lot of times the more charges you stack up, the better assist the prosecution.
Okay, we're going to pass this case.
I make a motion to pass to March the 9th, 2020.
We have a motion and a second. Get a roll call, please. Vote.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes?
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes. Okay, you get all of those.
I think that gets, let's go back up the top and we'll start at number,
8.
I think 7.
1302 Pleasant.
Next property on our agenda is 1302 Pleasant. Do we have any representatives here from that property?
Do we know the representative?
Linda's,
That's that Vegas, Las Vegas Premier.
no,
No, no, no.
No, this
he's a
was,
different guy.
This is the guy that filed for the taxes, didn't know.
Okay, I'll hear
To my knowledge, there's nothing new to
Oh,
report on
is
it
this
anyway. The duplex at the end of
is this
Pleasant.
the Memphis?
No.
This is Kiwanis Parks, right?
Yes,
Yes. He bothered
he was supposed to be here, I guess, to give us an update, but it doesn't seem like anything's changed, so.
as of Friday, that whole foundation was underwater due to the backwaters. That's the one they need to do a substantial improvement on. It really needs to come
Probably.
down. The roofing is like a roller coaster on it.
Yeah.
So,
This is Mr. Flynn's. Yeah. Given it's Mr. Flynn, we'll probably pass it.
Because he's in Pulaski and training.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got his contact information he provided at the last meeting.
Okay.
He lives at, Roosevelt 12, but we've got his contact information, so if there's a motion to pass this to, actually, I'm looking here, the last order that was issued to him was for March 9th, so
Okay.
it shouldn't be on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
It was passed to March 6th, or March 9th, during our January meeting, so
okay.
So we don't have to do anything.
no action is needed on that one.
Okay, our next property on the agenda is 5001 Pike Drive. Do we have any representatives here from that property? The house was to be brought up to electrical code. The foundation had problems on it.
What they were supposed to do, we issued an administrative warrant for Mr. Flynn to get in and inspect the property.
So the update that I have from him is that he has had no luck contacting anybody associated with the property. But last time that he did speak with anybody, there was nobody currently living in the house. So, but they've stopped responding to him completely, so,
Okay. Because I saw a lady standing, going out getting mail out of the mailbox the other day.
yeah.
We went by Friday and there were vehicles in the driveway.
What a Jeep, Cherokee, and
I don't
a
recall.
truck in the backyard.
Well, as a
Yeah,
matter of
we have
fact,
them in HO for the vehicles, so those vehicles don't move.
Okay.
What the vehicles are there, just are there.
So we're just supposed to keep passing this for someone? Is there a way to do
Well, if they're not responding to our code enforcement, I mean, you're here 5 days a week, you know, to check on those people.
Right,
We're here once a month, so,
yeah.
we'll pass it, you know, a month and give codes enforcement
Make-
opportunity to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
And,
Because there were real electrical issues out back, correct? Why they had a lot of the wiring run was a hazard.
there's a lot of open boxes.
There was just a lot of things, just in general. Mostly in-house, the outside was just that it wasn't covered up. They just run a bunch of electrical stuff and didn't finish it.
Is there any way that we can post a notice that they can't enter the house till they contact you?
Well, I'm sorry. Do we have any photographs there at all, or is it from the prior meeting?
started?
From our prior, we have some in prior.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And based upon that, I showed that on January 13th, we issued a order, testimony was presented that several code violations exist on the property,
Yes.
posing immediate danger to safety and health of inhabitants and the public. There was a Gary Thomas appeared on behalf of the property owner.
Gary L. Johnson.
That's right, yeah. He acknowledged the conditions of the property. And so at this time, you all will make the determination as to whether or not you actually deem the property to be in violation of 13-31(3), or in the International Property Maintenance Code. If you find that based upon that, and you can even rely upon the hearing information from the prior hearing, then you can make an order that no one can enter that property, post it on there. Then we'll ask for, a hearing to determine what additional efforts you want to make if the property owner's willing to come in and actually make the modifications.
We were at this in September.
Is that right?
September the 4th, here's the ones with the pictures.
Okay, so those have already been introduced once, we can reincorporate them here, they're part of the record.
Gary Lee Johnson, 5005. That's the property.
I think that's the property owner, but
Jeremy Witt was the one who was
Jeremy Witt
arrested
is
there
one of-
for possession of
is
controlled
living
substance.
there.
Yeah, they had a firearm at the time.
Voted to issue a warrant in November for the inspection.
And that never got served.
I would recommend to the board to post the house until it's brought up to code. That's about the only way I know to get their attention.
March the 9th, 2020.
And if they can get the house brought up to code and present it to you, get an inspection done prior to that, remove the post on it.
And that posting, Mr. Wilson, is to prohibit entry into the structure.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. Get a roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Ryan,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens, yes, Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. The next property on our agenda is 1318 West End Avenue. We have representatives here.
Let me look here, just by way of this matter, this 1318, just by way of refreshing your recollection, this came up in January. The property owner was here. Are you Ms. Rollins?
No, she's
That's your mother, you're the representative.
I'm the daughter.
That's right, you're the daughter. Okay, at that time, Ms. Rollins testified that,
That's the water coming in from that sewer.
hold on just a second, Ms. Rollins, hold on just a second, Ms. Rollins. Well, I'm sorry, what is your full name?
Jamie Stetler.
Jamie Stetler, okay. Ms. Stetler, what is your address?
1318 West End Avenue.
All right, just by way of reflection, this was the matter that came up in January. Ms. Stetler was here at that time, correct?
Yes.
You were. And there was acknowledgement that the property did suffer from significant conditions needing immediate repair. Ms. Stetler represented that she was going to make an attempt to get repairs and acknowledge that this has been going on for a while. Acknowledgement that emergency conditions of the property rendered the property uninhabitable and dangerous. Despite numerous notices and opportunities, the owner had failed to have a licensed contractor complete the FEMA substantial improvement form. This is upon which the owner has been provided a copy several times. Notwithstanding, you, this body decided in January to allow one last opportunity to have a licensed contractor complete the substantial completion form. And so the city, this body, this commission, ordered immediate repairs with regard to the emergency dangerous conditions, including all holes in the floor and windows to be sealed up completely, and the gap in foundation at ground level, and that the property owner was to contact code enforcement department and to obtain the services of a residential contractor to meet on the property, and that all of these actions were to occur before February 11, and that also complete the FEMA substantial improvement form. All right, who's here to testify? Both of you all? All right, let's raise your right hand. All right. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay. All right. Mr. McAllister, do you have an update?
I do. So last week we went over to the property on February the 6th. I met with Mrs. Stetler as well as Mrs. Rollins. Michael Howell went with me. We were supposed to meet the contractor there. However, he didn't show up the next day. We had a meeting with him here at City Hall. I have some updated pictures that the owner and her daughter have fixed some of the issues, not all of them. The entry to the crawl space under the house has not been closed up. There was standing water that they were pumping out that that could be potentially sewage, but it was just storm water. They have taken down the drywall and the plaster in the hallway. They tried to fix some of the holes in the walls. They're replacing drywall in the kitchen at the moment. But we did meet with the contractor on Friday. He came out to City Hall and spoke with me for about an hour over some of the issues that he thought needed to be repaired immediately. I spoke with him this morning, and he let Mrs. Stetler know that he will not be performing the work at the property, simply because it goes over 50% of what the value of the property assesses at. And he does not feel comfortable doing the work. So the forms have not been filled out.
And he did not contact me this morning either.
Did you get the name of the contractor?
I do. It's Home Improvement Contractors. And his name is Juan Hernandez.
And if you want to provide the information, exceed 50%.
Yes,
This property in the flood zone,
it is.
How many people reside in that property?
Me, my mom, and my cousin and his wife right now.
I noticed there's not a lot of automobiles there. And you relocated your dogs from the back pen?
Yeah,
up to
last
your front
week when it
porch?
was flooding, it was
Yeah.
flooding back there, and I don't like to let my dogs in the water. So they were up in the house, by the house. But I did get pictures where the water is coming in the foundation from the storm drain, from the side of the house. And TWA, when I called them this morning, told me they weren't responsible for that. There's cracks in the storm drain and everything.
Well, they wouldn't be responsible for it.
That's not sewer.
Well, that's when I called and told them about the potholes, the water was coming up. I was told to call TWA too.
You know, even downtown, they have water under heavy rains and everything that come out of the manhole covers. There's nothing they can do about that
No,
when we have that much rainfall.
We can refer back to the minutes on January. On 13/18, there was a discussion with Ms. Stadler, and part of the conditions was that no exceptions, we would have those FEMA funds today or the house would come down.
I know, the contractor had the papers, he didn't contact me today.
Okay.
He's been playing games, and I told that Friday to Cameron, I said, the contractor's playing games with me, and he has the papers.
And I remember looking you square in the eyes
Yeah.
and saying there would be no exceptions. That
If I'd have known he was gonna do this to me, I'd have found me another contractor.
Um,
He kept swearing to me, I have no problem, I have no problem.
I mean, we're kind of in revolving door there. It's,
Yeah, somebody is not pulling their load
yeah,
and getting things done.
and
I think that the contractor had all intentions to do the work, but once he figured out what work needed to be done and what work had already been done that needed to be redone, as well as the FEMA forms and the participation of the property owner, he realized that everything wasn't lining up where it needed to be for him to start work. He stated that he thought that that Mrs. Stetler and Mrs. Rollins potentially wanted the forms filled out and the work not be done. She just
No,
wanted
I
the
was gonna
forms.
hire this man to do my roof this summer.
But once he got into the property last week and saw all the issues at hand, he wasn't really sure where he needed to go as far as starting work or, her hiring him. She had mentioned the forms that needed to be filled out from us. He wasn't 100% positive on everything that entailed, so he came and met with me here at City Hall. We had a brief discussion over everything, and then he contacted her, or he was supposed to contact her Friday afternoon or over the weekend to see, what the status of everything was. But he reached out to me this morning to let me know that he wasn't going to be here this evening, and he was not going to be doing the work at the property.
How many square foot is that house? 800, 900 square feet?
I think it's 900 square feet.
It is 1118.
Oh, sorry.
when you raise it, it's going to break in half.
Yeah. I'd like to make a recommendation to the board to give her 30 days to try to get another contractor. And if she's not able to get another contractor, get a substantial improvement letter, take it from there. Since this contractor just notified the building inspection office today and didn't communicate with her, I'd like to give her the benefit of the doubt, and that's my recommendation.
I'll make the motion. Give it 30 days.
Okay, move to March the 9th, 2020.
I'll second that on your recommendation because the contractor didn't do
I
it.
have a motion and a second. Can you get a roll call vote, please?
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
No.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes. It's very important you get another contractor, get a substantial improvement letter completed. It's not that complicated.
I know, this contractor had it for like 2 weeks now.
Well, they need to sign off on it, you need to be in agreement with them, they need to come up with a price, and if, whatever they quote you, you're gonna have to work it out with them, otherwise the house is gonna come down.
Yes, I know, I understand.
Okay. You got a 30-day extension to try to get this
Okay.
wrapped up, okay?
Okay, and then who do I call about the storm drain? Because, I mean,
Well, the storm drains are overflowing, there's nothing you can do about it.
no, it's not even overflowing, it's coming through the dirt underneath the house.
It's bubbling up.
In the dirt, yeah. I got pictures, I told Cameron Friday I'd bring them to him.
Is it in the front of your house or the rear of the
But
house?
beside the house. The
Right.
storm, yeah, you can,
Facing your house on the left or the right?
the left,
Okay, it's in between you and
yeah,
the adjacent property owner.
yeah. Well, there ain't no property owner.
If you're facing the house, it's to the right.
Yeah, to the right, to the
Other
street,
side of the street.
yeah.
Street department, can they go down and advise her on what to do?
I mean, they can try. Ultimately, the cover is just because of the excessive amount of rain that's over there right now. The crack,
You're in a low-lying area there, you know, you're in
Well,
a
there's
higher.
cracks in the,
the crack that she says that is letting the water come into the crawl space isn't something that's causing that much amount of water. I don't
The problem
necessarily
with your
think.
property is that the house was built, you know, on a low level piece of property.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, the house really needs to be elevated, probably about 9 or 10 feet, you know, really and truly. Like they've elevated other houses in the area, out of the floodplain. You got 30 days, so
Okay.
much you can make happen.
Okay, thank
You
you,
don't
I
have to work on
appreciate
it,
it.
okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see. Next property, let's see. Yeah, number 11, 3707 Lolly Avenue, we have any representatives here?
When's the last time we were here on property?
We were here last month.
By way of recollection.
I don't know that I've met you before, sir. What's your name, please?
Jeremy Green. Were you not here last time, sir?
I wasn't here the last meeting.
Jeremy Green, remind me, you're the son of Henry and Arlene?
Henry, yes. My mother passed away a few months ago.
Have there been any changes, updates to the property on Wiley Avenue?
Well, I have attempted to make contact with both Mr. Greens for the past 2 weeks. No one has answered the
It has
phone.
not been 2 weeks, it's been 1 week.
Okay, we'll say 1 week. But I still have not received any phone calls back. I've left multiple voicemails each day. I drove by their
You've
property.
left one vote.
Hi, Mr. Green,
I'm sorry.
he will take the floor.
Yes, sir.
I have left multiple voicemails, at least 2, for most every day. I've attempted to call both of them today, yesterday. I don't know. I've left 2 voicemails at least per day, just to try and get in contact. I haven't noticed any improvement from Street View in the last month or so. I noticed that the back door had been secured, but that was something that was done last time I was over there. So as far as seeing the property cleaned up, the exterior isn't a huge issue, it's just the interior, and I haven't been able to get back in there.
Have you done this here before?
We did one.
All right, so when we were here last time, Mr. Green was here, acknowledged the condition of the property, and didn't contest the accuracy or truthfulness of the photographs that were captured of the property, all of which were incorporated into the record at that time. Mr. Green agreed that condemnation of the property is appropriate at this time, prohibiting any inhabitants of the property. They allowed Mr. Green access to remove items from the property in order immediate action to be taken to address the rodent infestation of the property, to which the owner agreed. Photographic evidence, ingress and egress to be obstructed, numerous broken windows, rotted ceilings with holes, and other structural concerns. Mr. Green requested additional time to allow him an opportunity to meet with his parents to address these concerns. Mr. Green, did you ever contact code enforcement?
Not since last time, no, sir.
Okay. Just anybody have any questions for Mr. Green? Mr. Green, let's swear him in first, all right? Mr. McAllister, you're still under oath. Okay. Are you testifying here today?
Yes, sir.
All right, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Does this body have questions for Mr. Green?
Have you made any improvements?
So I haven't made too much improvements. I've been trying to remove items from the building, and there's still a lot of items that I would request time to be able to try to remove. I've boarded up the back area, that was the issue, and it's taken care of. I have not seen any more rodent infestation.
So have you contracted with somebody to remove the rodents? Have you put out bait?
I've put out bait and I've gone through the building several times. I have not seen any new issues.
Cameron, have we heard anything from the neighbors about that? About the rodents? Because I know that was a huge concern. Because
Was here last time.
No, I haven't had any
Yeah.
contact with this property at all since last meeting.
None of my other neighbors have suggested any issues to me.
Well, I've been in contact with a couple of the neighbors up there, and they said they saw you remove some items from the location, but as far as anybody up exterminating company, they haven't seen anybody up there. As a matter of fact, one of the neighbors parks his truck in the driveway to make it appears that there's someone there.
Yes, sir.
The back of the property still, it hadn't been cleaned up in 2 or 3 years, it looks like.
Yes, sir. I did board up the back area.
Yeah. How far does that property go back? It's a deep lot, isn't it?
It's a deep lot, yes.
Yeah. But it's overgrown.
If that's the issue, I will try to start taking care of that too. It was not suggested last time that that was an issue when I was here. It was mostly making sure the building was secure and that the rodent population was taken care of, which I have not seen any new rodent issues.
Well, that's one of the main concerns of the neighbors, is the rodent problem. They said even at Halloween, some of the kids stopped out in the front of the road and watched them run across the windowsill inside the house. That's how bad the rodent problem was, and it wasn't small rodents, it was large ones. But
I've been to the property several times now. I've not seen anything moving around.
Or excuse me, really?
No, I understand.
I mean, the way that
So
they've been
how much
described.
time are you needing?
Honestly, sir, I'm not fully certain at the moment. My job is about a 10-hour-a-day job, so it limits my time and ability to go over there during the daytime, except for on the weekends when I have the opportunity to go over there. If I could have, honestly, if I could have about 2 months overall, I think I could make significant improvements to it. At least get everything out that I need to get out, and if, need be, move out, clear of all other trash, I guess is the best word to use.
You have an estimate as to maybe what percentage you feel like you have made since we were here last?
Only maybe about 10% or so, ma'am.
But I mean, that's,
Mostly right now, I've just been trying to remove items from the building, not so much clean the building up itself.
right.
Since our last conversation was about tearing it down, I was just more concerned at the moment of trying to get what items I could out at the moment.
Been there every weekend.
Just about, I was not there this last weekend. No, wait, excuse me, I did go in Sunday. The weekend before I was not there, I was not feeling
But
too
you're
well.
are you making a consistent effort?
I'm trying my best, ma'am.
Do you have any siblings or any other family?
My
members?
brother lives in Florida and is unable to fly up here frequently. He does not have the money or the resources to.
Have we suggested a dumpster?
We did. At the time, I was going to do that, ma'am, and then
Maybe it just would make
at the
it
moment, I was
easier.
just only having a month. I was just more concerned at the moment, trying to get the items out
Do
that
you
were
have
salvageable.
the means to hire an hourly, grunt worker to get in there and help you?
I may
Or
be able to
even
facilitate
do
that.
something during the week that you could direct them on that weekend and
I may be able to facilitate something along those lines. I'm uncertain at this moment without
it
the
seems like
cost.
a lot of it is, for lack of a better term, grunt work,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that you can get to the things that you need.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Josh, do you have a recommendation for this bond based upon what you reserved?
I would like to see him get his sentimental values, valuable things out of the home. But there's a lot of things wrong with the structure on the interior. Past repair, I believe, especially downstairs.
Well, I mean, that's you're going to take the structure down.
Yes, ma'am, that's the goal, ultimate goal is that I will be tearing the building down.
I'd like to make a motion then, and I do want you to check in with us in 30 days.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'd like to make a motion that we give him 30 days. Is there a way, Mr. Litchford, to make a motion that he's got 60 days, but to check in with us at 30?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can make, he's got 30 days to finish, and we're having a status conference essentially in 30 days from now. We can order back here. But once you give him 60 days, you're not going to be able to retract that. If there's no progress between now and 30,
Yeah,
well, we're
no,
gonna be
then
frustrated.
let's just, my motion then is to pass 30 days. For you to come back in here and give us, let's see something
Significant.
substantial. Yeah, absolute significant. Take some pictures, show us what you've done, get a dumpster. Hire, some 20-year-old kid that needs the work, and we'll put on a jumpsuit and go in there and just start putting stuff out for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make a recommendation prior to the second on this, that we order a professional exterminating company to appease the neighbors up there, to get rid of the rodents,
Yeah.
and,
So can
for them to issue a report, for the next meeting, to make sure that the rodents,
Yes, ma'am, I've been speaking with most of my neighbors when I've been there. Like I said, I have not been told of any new rodent sightings.
So if, however, that needs to be amended for them.
well, no one's seconding your motion, so
Okay.
at this point, you can still.
So
Could
just-
we, on your motion, could you add the fact that we would like for codes to be able to gain access for inspections like every 7 to 10 days? Just to
I
make
think
sure
that's
that we're.
putting an awful lot on this gentleman now I agree that you need to return his phone calls.
I would,
And
and
that's-
honestly, quite frankly, I've been very frustrated with him about some things, and I did not want to say some inappropriate things over the phone.
I can tell that there's tension,
Okay, then.
And I
and that's
just,
why.
at the time when, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
no.
At that time, I just would rather was trying to wait till this meeting, so.
And
to
I
address it
can-
here.
I can understand, those things happen. But I feel like every 7 days to 14 days
Okay,
is
Let's have at least one inspection between now and the 9th. Like at 15 days, somewhere in a 2-week frame, to see what progress
it'll
we're
have to be
making.
on a weekend.
Right. Well,
Code doesn't work on a weekend.
we don't work on the weekend.
Right,
Would you be comfortable with doing an interior inspection at the end of the 30-day period before the next meeting?
Yes, I should be
Okay,
able, if that's what we want to do now, I should be able to set, that should be far enough out, that I can set something up like that.
I'm assuming that this is okay, I don't know, can we suggest somebody, I've just had somebody out for something under my crawl space.
well,
That.
whenever you do the motion, I'd like to put it in a form, if you don't contact somebody yourself within a week, then the city contact an exterminator and file a lien against the property if necessary to get this problem taken care of. So,
Well, in order to do that, they're gonna have to get access into the property. In order to do that, we'll have to go get the administrative.
Sarah,
warrants.
that's a suggestion.
Yeah. Well, Ms. Daybrook brings us a good observation. Where's your father?
He's at Dallas's.
All right. Technically, he is the owner of the property. You don't have the authority to give us access into that property bluntly. The instructions in the order last time was for you to submit evidence of any efforts regarding remediation and repairs. Have you brought anything with you to evidence?
I was not aware that there's.
It's in the order.
Sorry, I was not aware, I don't remember of saying that, sir, so no, I don't have anything with me right now.
No, you didn't say that was what the order was that you got copies.
Those written orders I signed last month.
I wasn't aware of that, sir, sorry.
Those were mailed the next day.
Well, married to, yeah, and you're,
I believe they were mailed to 4106 Ely Road.
yeah, at work, as well as the 5,001 fight, I'm sorry.
It was signed for by Jeremy Green on January the 22nd, 2020.
Okay, I apologize, I didn't read that section of that. I just thought it was a reassertion of what we talked about at that meeting, so I didn't fully read the document, I suppose.
All right, well, I think if I'm hearing you right, Ms. Stevens, your motion is to pass this 30 days with some conditions, is that correct? All right, let's articulate these conditions so that there's no misunderstanding. And before you leave, let's get an email address. Do you answer email?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we expect you to answer it. You'll have your voicemail as well. Mr. McAllister is simply doing his job. He's not here to harass you, and he has a lot of properties. For you to have an
I
issue-
don't disagree with that, sir, I understand that section of it, but
For you to have an issue, Mr. McAllister Bluntland is out of place. He's there to do a job. All right? So with this, if we want to move it past 30 days, what conditions would you like, Ms. Stevens?
That we have a exterminator in place within 7 days, or the city will do it. And that, yeah, well, and with a lien, and that we will have an inspection the Friday, or by the Friday prior to our next meeting.
that was the 9th, ma'am.
I believe, yes, that is correct.
March the 9th.
Yeah.
March 9th meeting, the Friday would be the 6th.
Yeah.
So inspection on March 6th. All right, and if the property is not made available, Mr. Green, by whoever has the authority to allow access, and if you represent that you do have that authority, the city will rely on that. If not, we'll go get an administrative warrant to get inspection. Any efforts to have to go do that, any cost, will go as a lien against the property, so any difficulty is only going to cost you more money.
Okay, sir.
All right, so if I've got past this for 30 days, the owner you must exterminate within 7 days and have a report prepared. In the event that the property owner doesn't exterminate, then the city will take efforts to gain access for the purposes of doing an extermination as well as doing an inspection on March 6th. Is that right, Ms. Stevens?
Yes, that is correct.
Sorry.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Get a roll call vote, please, and I'll let you speak.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes?
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens. Yes. Chairman Winters.
Yes, sir. Okay, so,
With regards to the road, with getting it 7 days, after I get it done, do I need to bring it next week or so to y'all for things, or bring it to?
codes enforcement,
Okay,
yeah, just hit the little one right there, just ring the bell and present them.
That was actually what I was gonna ask, does he just need to bring the receipt with?
Not a receipt, we want a report or the extermination.
Copy of the work order.
Yeah, I don't really want a work order, I want a report from them stating that the road problem's been resolved.
Well, I will tell you that when we had a mouse in our house last week, they come, they set the bait, because bait's the only thing that they can do, in a bait box, it's pretty large, and then they have to come and check it within a week, and then they check it at 2 weeks. So it won't be eradicated in 7 days.
They got several methods for,
What do we make
Legally,
this?
they told me that they could only do bait boxes anymore,
Okay.
and that was Lookout Pest.
By the way, you're going to get this done in 7 days. I think when you come back on March 9, you need to bring an
the
actual
full report.
If you can't bring one to the city code enforcement, you need to, in 7 days, bring evidence that it has been
That's
performed.
They've been hired.
And to the extent there's any report they can prepare, they ought to bring it. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is all relevant information that they can give me.
Okay. And then you need to bring evidence at the next hearing as to what, if any, repairs and clean out that you've done on the property. Are we certain, so you've been receiving these voicemails, correct?
Yes, I
All
know.
right, so there's no issue about the telephone.
It is a good phone number.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we don't have that issue.
Can we get your email as well?
Go ahead and write your email down,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister, right there.
jgreen@hotmail.com.
That's jgreen@tn.
@hotmail.com.
jgreen@hotmail.com.
Okay, so, Mr. Green, there will not be an acceptance as to any reason as to why you don't return a phone call. To the extent you think you're gonna say something improper, don't.
I try not to, sir, but sometimes
But if we need to get a police officer.
my voice gets away before my mind can think.
Is that sort of like Donald Trump getting along with the Democrats?
I would consider it as I'm a lot better than he is in that nature, sir. It's not so much what I say, is how I say it in the certain words I used to say. I do sometimes, I've worked in kitchens all my life, so colorful language has been pretty standard for that aspect. So when I say something, sometimes people take it the wrong way. And I'm also sometimes a very blunt person about certain things, and I don't always consider how other people take it.
So let's see if we can get this problem resolved.
And if we continue to have a personality conflict, because that happens, that's nobody's fault necessarily, then if that continues and he feels that way, then we move the case to Sarah or something.
Or we'll just have a police officer
Or we'll
go
just-
out. And we can have
You know,
that
I mean-
resolved pretty quickly.
Everybody takes my tone, so
Do we need for him to get a power of attorney from his father so he can represent his property? Would that be?
do you have one?
I do not now. I know a while back that one of the nurses for the dialysis center suggested we do some kind of thing like that just in case. But we have not set anything like that up. My father is still very much functioning for the most part. He does forget things here and there as being an older gentleman. But I did not want to take
All right, well, let's do
that
this.
responsibility away from him right now.
It can be limited.
So the inspection is set on March 6th, right? All right, you need to have your father there or some form of verification that you have the authority to admit on March 6th. Again, remember, if we don't have that and we're taking efforts to have to go get the warrant, any and all evidence that are associated with that will be cost assessed. So we're not wanting to do that, but we're not going to back down if we have to go get the cost for the purpose of getting the
No, I
warrant.
understand that, sir.
We will do that, and it's only going to cost you more against the property as a lien. Get the document if you can't get your dad there.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
I'm not out of line here. The next property on the agenda is 712 Summit Avenue. Mr. Steiner. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
no, we didn't.
we had a motion done. We need a second.
I thought we did.
I second, or Jeff seconded.
Okay, we overlooked it.
No, I thought we did.
Yeah, we did.
All right.
We did have a roll call.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Next is
712, okay. Oh, we have recollection, 712 property.
Mr. Steiner, I'm surprised to see you still coming to these meetings.
I went to day shift over all this. I'm on a day shift nurse now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, as of this week. Still trying to do it.
This was heard on January 13th. At that time, the commission found that based upon the presentation of the evidence and upon the record as a whole, that the building or the structure of the property was unfit for human habitation and otherwise dangerous within the meaning of the terms of 13-304. Testimony, evidence, significant sanitary issues, electrical violations, and structural concerns, holes in the floor and the stairway.
This is open copy.
It was,
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Stallard requested an opportunity to initiate repairs of the property and to permit interior inspection of the property. Did that occur?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Well,
Did you have?
Yes, we had an interior inspection last week.
okay. All right, Mr. Stallard agreed to keep the property condemned and to reappear here today to present evidence of the remediation efforts. Has it remained condemned, Mr. Stallard?
Yes.
All right, so we had the continued condemnation for the units labeled 15, 16, 17, 18.
The rest of these.
That inspection, I assume, did that occur on January
It's
14th?
all of it.
What's the inspection date on those?
The second.
February 2nd? Okay.
That's fine. And then at that point, the commission said it would review this matter today based upon the information and consider what,
There's one for each.
if any additional actions to take relative to these units. And it's just those 4 units, right?
Correct.
All right, so Mr. McAllister, you're still under oath. Mr. Staller?
Should it be as long as the properties?
Well, whoever's going to testify, Miss Melville?
mother.
That's right, yes, ma'am, I do remember you.
And I'll.
All right. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right. So they're both under oath. Mr. McAllister, you remain under oath as well.
Yes, sir.
All right, would you tell this body any updated information subsequent to the last meeting?
Definitely. So, Mr. and Mrs. Stollard have both done a significant amount of work to the property. Most importantly, they have gotten the property cleaned up. The backyard, there was a lot of trash and debris that needed to be cleaned up. So they've done a lot of work out there. They had a city dumpster out there for a couple of days. I'm not sure how many loads or how many times they filled the dumpster up, but I saw at least once. Was it just once?
Yeah.
It was too much.
Okay.
Dumpster, so we had to do it by hand.
There's
So-
one else.
So they had the dumpster filled up at least once. They have started work on the interior of the units. Not a huge amount of work has been done, but they've gotten stuff cleaned out so they can start work. I was over there last week. They had a contractor there with some help, so they were replacing some wood in the floors. You can see that they have started replacing some of the flooring. They were starting to talk about some of the electrical that needed to be addressed. Now they know that permits needed to be pulled. Our electrical inspector, Fred, actually went out to the property. He's a friend of the contractor that they have. So the units all operate on one electrical panel for the two electrical panels. So it's a quadplex, but there's only 2 electrical panels. I believe it used to be just a duplex, correct?
Not before we bought it. When we
No.
bought it,
Okay.
you can tell that.
But originally it was as a 2-story duplex. So there are 2 electrical panels for 4 units. So currently the property is zoned for R2 use. But the property needs to be zoned for R3 if they're going to continue to rent it as a multifamily structure rather than just a duplex 2-family.
That's just a matter of paperwork, isn't it?
They would have to, go through the RPA website and start the general rezoning process. But until then, they can't rent that property out as a quadplex. And if they wanted to, then the electrical panels would need to be split so each unit had its own panel.
And that's what we asked, that's why we had Fred come out, was to see what was the best way to attack this financially. Rick is my contractor, and he come out, and he had the inspector, as a favor, to come out and go over it with him. And he said at the current zoning, he couldn't put 4 panels in, that I would have to change the zoning, and actually, I just came today and asked him, what should I do about that? And I won't go over what he said. He told me that I didn't have someone come out, but
We weren't aware that our electrical inspector had been to the property. It was done as a favor to his contractor. So the city didn't send our electrical inspector out there. So I will say I wasn't aware of Fred being out there. So I had no idea what was going on until we verified that Fred had been out there.
Are the panels located in each individual unit? Are they in a,
they're in one of the, that's what I was gonna ask, is if I can drop these into the basement, into the garage where everybody has access, is that possible to do that rather than going through changing the zoning on these and everything, because the time frame that it takes?
The zoning would have to be changed to rent the structure out as a quadplex.
give me dollars a head to go in and change it, change the zoning of it?
I want to change the zoning, but it's gonna come through you guys, I guess, is, I'm not.
It would have to go
agree
through the
on
planning
all
commission.
sides. I think that
Right,
would
this is
pass.
planning commission.
Right.
Gotta go through some appeals, doesn't it?
I think the structure's worth rehabbing, and, yeah, I would give me a local licensed electrician, to advise you on it,
And I have, and that's what I'm talking about. Rick is he just happened to be my same name, but he's always been my contractor. He's the one friends with Fred, who had Fred come out. So duplex, but it wouldn't, the other way, I'd have to, there's so many things that I have to change to do that, which is fine, I want 4 in there because it's usually. But it's a time frame to go through to get the zoning changes, so I have
They
to
would
start the zoning
yeah,
process.
I just start the general.
These are very large, one-bedroom
Yeah, very
apartments. The bedroom easily accommodates a big king-size bedroom suite and such. Plenty big enough for one-bedroom apartments. So we hate to turn it back in. If you go into it being a duplex, you got people that want children and stuff. I don't want children over there because it's not a safe place for children on that hillside and such.
Oh, my
Whenever
kids,
there's
Wide open for lawsuits.
17-year-old sitting right there, just turned 13 years old today, and I don't like him very much. Yeah,
I don't think he's going to see that.
yeah, we made him his whole life.
Yeah, I used to have to chase basset hound over that hill. Yeah, I would not have wanted my kids on that.
We haven't allowed children up to not simply for that reason, it's too dangerous.
And they want to skate off if there's snow on the ground. It's like,
Skateboards too on the side of that hill is dangerous.
You don't need children.
Well, does Mr. Cameron, Councilman, what do you recommend, or what's your recommendation in this spot?
So I would like to see the structure temporarily condemned, continue that. I mean, ultimately, depending on how they want to rent this property in the future, depends on what they do as far as zoning. But continuing work, it can't, continue until the zoning is switched.
And you said through the website they can start that
Yeah,
process?
so they would start the general rezoning application on the RPA. It's actually chcrpa.org. Then they would go through there and start the rezoning process.
You're saying they can't do any more work on it, and,
Not electrical work. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying.
right,
Yeah.
yes.
I misunderstood that.
Not that they're doing the-
Right, they can do
replacing
other work.
flooring, yeah.
Right.
But when the inspector told me I couldn't do that, I had to bring it here because I can't do, let my electrician do work that he's not going to get passed.
Well, your electrician should know how to go about getting that done, along with codes enforcement office. You've been through a lot this last year, Rick, especially with your other property, and I'd like to see if it's successful on this
I
one.
want to change the zoning on all of it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go through this, I'm going to change the zoning on all of it at one time.
I think you need to contact them tomorrow morning, tonight, since it's through a website, get that done and find out how long the process is. Because it's not something that this body does. We don't have that answer.
I just don't know how long it's going to take and changing the zoning and then coming back because we're talking about curriculum and stuff.
You can talk to
Because it
me.
takes a month or two to do that.
Yeah, and we didn't know.
I can talk to you about that, I can let you know. I
There's
can
no reason.
Exactly, so if you want to wait till after this meeting, then I can tell you.
And we just
Any
got,
fast track, well, you know I would be very good.
Correct.
We've only got one tonight.
we've got one more case after y'all, so we'll be
Okay.
okay.
That's good.
So, Mr. McAllister, are you satisfied with the repairs that have been made?
I am satisfied. I mean, there hasn't been a huge amount of repair.
Okay.
The
cleanup.
progress has definitely been something that I'm proud of. I mean, just from the initial pictures, and I don't know that y'all have the initial pictures, but you have the progress pictures passing around somewhere. But you can tell the property has been cleaned up, especially just the yard, the back, the
Looks like a big
garage.
property.
The interior is completely cleaned out except one unit. Ms. Stoller said that she was in contact with that tenant trying to get him relocated. But as far as the progress on cleanup, I am satisfied.
Okay, so cleanup is good, we still want to do the remediations on, are there still some sort of code violations?
There, like on the interior, there needs to be,
Okay.
the significant repairs still need to be repaired.
And,
Leaks had to be stopped before ceilings could
But
be
you all,
fixed.
y'all got a suggestion for a timeline?
Well, since we're talking about rezoning, that's the part that bothers me. But since the work can be done except electrical will be extensive from what I understand, and the inspector, since it's only going to have to brought up to today's standards, if I change it to that zoning and put 4 in there, there's a lot more than what.
It's
you
gonna
guys
have to be
mentioned.
done
Yeah.
ultimately, so, I mean,
Wow.
however long it takes, it takes. It's like I said, you've been fighting a battle for a while. Let's be successful and just go,
So
right?
are you,
I know that's a,
are y'all in agreement to continue the condemnation, if that was the motion by this body, to continue the condemnation? No habitation?
Yeah, we're not putting any in until we get it. fixed criteria to what we want, and I want to change the zoning, so she's going to talk to me about,
Why don't
That's
we
the time I started with
pass
that.
this a month, see where it is again?
Probably good.
Or
It's
even,
probably good. I think we'll be through pretty much on the inside, other than the electrical, in
Right.
that month's time. I have some fast ones. They're good.
we may have some other businesses that need, other,
Well, they've been caught up working
Yeah,
on
they picked up
the
other properties
adjoining.
now since we've had them there. They're working on a couple of properties.
Make a recommendation to the board, please, is pass the case and see where we stand in 30 days on it.
And to continue the current, or what you did, well, would it move to just continue the existing order an additional 30 days?
and
He's
check.
making progress on it, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. And we hope he's successful, but go through the motion. And
It'd be till March 9th, the third, whatever, 30 days, whatever, March 9th is when we're back here again.
I'll make a motion. Okay, I have a motion.
It's, the motion technically is to pass it with the current order staying in effect.
I'll second his motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Get a roll call vote, please. Thank you, Rick. Ma'am.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers, Board Member Stevens, yes, Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Still working at Park Ridge?
Yeah, we're putting a new ER actually down there. I'm thinking if you've heard about it, but there's a new ER going by Hamilton Place over there. Park Ridge is attached to our building, so it should be open in there.
Good luck on your project up there.
Thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I reckon, is there any other business coming?
Yeah, we've got one more.
Oh,
16.
16.
Oh, Trevor.
All right, so, everything,
No, 16, number 16. We had two claims.
Is this?
644 Clemens Road.
5404.
You have a packet.
I think I did that on that one.
It's optional.
It's underneath the paper.
This is another one.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, they're a block away, they just look like they're the same.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It's on the wrong page.
Okay.
Oh.
So we'll go ahead and get sworn in.
Yeah, let's do this. This is code enforcement on this one. All right. Which one you in already? Which one you in? Wait a minute. If you're gonna testify, let's raise your right hand. Okay, all right. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're here on 5404 Clemens Road. And let's see, this arises out of a notice of repair, cleanup, or demolition dated February 7, 2020. Property owner is Don Younce, or Younce, D-A-W-N-Y-O-U-N-C-E. Okay.
And I apologize, I believe there's actual multiple property owners. Properties also owned by her sister.
She,
Okay.
I haven't seen her in 12 years. She lives in Florida.
Okay. Well, Mr. Woodward, is that correct? Okay, Mr. Woodward. Okay. Let me get our identification here. We got Ms. Statesworth here for the city. Don Younce, excuse me, but you are the property owner. Okay. All right. You're here with Mr. Justin Woodward as your representative?
Correct.
Okay. Right. If we need to get contact with you, Ms. Younce, you authorize us to, I assume, talk to your
Yes.
attorney. Okay. And we have Mr. Woodward's. Mr. Woodward, you're comfortable with us being contacted through you for further action in connection with this matter?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so this is the matter that arose out of the notice of repair, cleanup, or demolish dated February 7. At that time, code enforcement issued this. So what looks like to be non-compliance being noted by the particulars, 108.1.1 unsafe structure, 108.1.2 unsafe equipment, 108.1.3 structure unfit for human occupancy, and 108.1.5 dangerous structure on premises. And then there's some checks there and then some narratives provided. Ms. Statesburg, did you prepare this?
I did.
Did you prepare this in the ordinary course of your occupation as a code enforcement officer?
I did.
And you are a code enforcement officer, correct?
Correct.
And this is in connection with property located at 5404 Clemens Road.
Correct.
Okay. And did you capture these photographs?
I did.
Did you capture them at or near the time of your inspection?
Yes.
Now, there's one that says here January 17, 2020.
So there's two separate sections of pictures.
Ah.
So there's, the first one is labeled, when you get to the next sticky note, that's the next.
Mr. Woodward, do you have a copy?
I do, thank you. I have what you sent me
Ah, that's right, okay. Yeah.
on Saturday.
Okay, okay, so there's two sets of photos. Does everybody have two sets in their group in their packet? Mr. Costello? Okay. All right, Ms. Stageberg, can you provide some testimony in regard to your inspection of this property? Both from January 17 and February 7.
Okay. So the initial attention was brought to this property due to the staircase that you see that was built at the back of the house, as well as that back porch room area being in the condition that it was, and the general outdoor condition of the home. So initially I'd written it up for the administrative hearing officer, and then she had contacted me, and I let her know.
She being Ms.
Yes, Ms. Johnson, sorry. Contacted me, and we set up a day for me to go to the property and inspect that back staircase as well as kind of the back property area. And at that time, myself and Mr. Gilbert actually came with me just to have a second opinion on everything. We did take some pictures, and we kind of determined that in order for us to feel good about her remaining in that property, and we needed to see the interior structure of the back of the house, where the staircase goes in through the roof. It looks like it's actually separating from the house. It's just a major concern for us. The electrical box is located in that back area as well, so if water is leaking through that area of the home, then obviously that's a major concern. So we spoke with Ms. Young that day, and we asked if there was a day that would suffice for us to come back and do an interior inspection of the home. We agreed that February 7th at 4 p.m. was the day that we were going to come back, and it would be with her, her representative, and then two of the individuals who were helping her do repairs on her home initially. We were actually unable to do that inspection due to nobody showing up to allow us into the property. There are different variables that have led us to request the inspection for the home. Obviously, one including the staircase that was added on. One would be the condition of the back porch and deck, the shaping of the exterior walls, the way that they seem to wave. The conditions of the windows are deteriorated, some of which are cracked and boarded. The condition of the roof in some areas, just general deterioration of the home. Our goal obviously is to make sure that the house is safe and sanitary and healthy for people to live in. I would like to make note, if I can interject this, it's just an observation, it's not something you can put in a photograph. Whenever I reached the top of the stairs, I did go up those stairs just to kind of see where they connected. There is a window unit there. And there is an odor coming from the inside of the home that is concerning in terms of sanitation.
So you haven't got to inspect the upstairs apartment yet?
No, we haven't been allowed into the home. We were supposed to do that on the 7th at 4.
And occupied?
It is. It is. So we're deeply concerned about the health of the individuals and the safety of that property.
Who occupies the home?
I believe Ms. Youngs, and is what I've heard from neighbors, her mother.
That's correct.
And I have lupus, and I just want to say that.
Okay, so it's
Those are the two individuals.
brother and you, okay.
That's correct.
And you said that the home is, I just want to make sure I have this straight. So it's in your and your sister's name, which you're really not in contact with. Was it a parental home at some point? It was given to you too? You bought it.
I'm trying to vision where this house is. Is this in the complex of the old Stutsbury property, what they used to call the Stutsbury property?
Right as you turn on the Clemens, right there on the corner of Clearmore and Clemens, the big old stucco. And
Right next to 1702 that we've had.
I've been doing a lot of work on it. Terry had been working with me.
Okay. Well, the Stutsbury property was on up the road by the middle ways in Clemens. Sort of had a little compound there, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't,
Back in behind the post office, back in behind Max.
no, we don't go there now.
You come from Ringo Road on Greg Moore, as soon as you turn left on Clemens, look to your right. You know, there's a way to you as you go.
I got you.
Mr. Woodward, I'm sorry, you said you're Michelle Dawn, correct?
That's
Your
correct.
sister is Heather Daniel,
That is correct.
but you don't have contact or?
I do not. I believe that the property is subject to, when they purchased the property, is subject to a vendor's lien through, when they purchased it as well. That lien still exists on the property.
Canon, and that we got it from.
Yes, sir. That would be,
Well, you said, did you say vendor loan?
well, it's just a form of,
No, was that the word you said?
that is what I said,
Okay.
yes.
I misunderstood the word, and that's
Okay.
why I was like, can you explain
Okay.
what that is?
They can buy a warranty deed and
Yeah.
it's secure debt, so it's kind of
Do you need permission to complete your inspection?
Yeah. Yeah, so, we had discussed, when we were there in January, the first day that we had set up to meet her at the property, we had discussed over, pulling permits and stuff, but in order for any of that to be able to happen, I mean, we have to see, the interior property, see what, so that way we can tell her, this is what you need to have pulled, and then, help her kind of figure out how and when to get them pulled so that she can afford to get the repairs done. Yeah.
Are your intentions to renovate the home?
I want to, if I can, I don't want to lose my home. And I had to spend another $750 today that I was using to try to do that. I was saving to pay him.
Yeah.
And
I can tell by looking at the exterior of it.
it's a lot of peeling paint. I don't know, can I talk? I've been working with Terry. Terry had approved that deck, that upper deck. I had called and left a message last July 1st, I believe, and she had told me, she said, honey, all I need to do is let me know when it gets done, and when I drive out there and see when it's done, I can close that out. I didn't hear anything else from her, I thought she had done that. Then, on Christmas Eve, I got a letter in the mail about all this. And I tried to get the permit on the 26th and wasn't allowed. I didn't even realize I had to have a permit for that ag building, for the paint peeling and the rotten wood that was on it and the windows. I didn't realize I had to have a permit for that. And I waited to do the paint peeling and the building until this spring because I'd done everything else and had to pay taxes too. And I'm on a limited fixed income with disability goodness. And I'm trying to hold it.
All of the wood is not right.
No.
Most of the wood's in good
Yes,
condition.
it is.
Most, the major part is the back where that staircase.
That's what I thought about
And I
it.
just,
Yeah, I mean,
but-
okay.
it's
That's-
okay.
Yeah.
they can only hear one.
We don't want you to have to read that.
And I will
I just
say,
need a couple bucks.
I will say on her behalf, I know this back, if y'all look and you can see in the pictures, this back area with the deck, I don't believe that part of the house is utilized. They haven't used that as a method of egress or ingress into the house, and that may have been some of the issue. She had come back and seen me back a few years ago because they had an issue with, I believe, with the side of the house at that point.
Yeah, the contractor.
And they came out and fixed it, and as far as I know, that issue was resolved for the most part.
And he didn't do a perfect job on the siding. The siding was wavy because I had brain fog because of computers. I can't remember exactly who it was.
Who built the steps?
oh, what is his name? He's the guy that does Clayton Homes. The stair, the decks are Clayton Homes.
Did they obtain a building permit to put those steps up?
Yes, I had a permit for that and a siding, and that was done within a permit last year.
Is this property properly zoned for
Yes.
the duplex?
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
Well, I mean, there's an apartment, so it's dual occupancy residencies.
It's,
right?
yeah, but it's not. It's been, ever since 2003, it's been my home, I mean, the whole thing.
So who lives upstairs?
It's all my home.
Okay. I guess I'm confused, because you.
I mean, did I, was I
Okay.
supposed
I
to?
wasn't looking at any of the property, upstairs, downstairs,
Okay,
any of it.
so are
But
you,
anyway, that stuff goes flat, that's not waving, but
What's the function?
it's no failure.
are you there most of the time where if we set a date and time, she can perform an inspection?
And truthfully, that was my fault. I attempted to contact the city attorney and discuss a meeting, and apparently when I sent him my email, I had miswritten the email, and I'll take responsibility for that. I was trying to reschedule the 7th at 4 o'clock, but I think by the time we figured that out, or I figured out that the language I used in the email was incorrect, it was already very late on that Friday. So I really wanted to coordinate the inspection, and I'd be willing to do that.
Okay, so let's set a time and a date. I think the rain is supposed to break Wednesday.
Well,
I got something over to do about it.
If you start us back to Friday, it's like the weather's actually improved.
Okay.
Wednesday, there's still rain.
You need for it not to be pouring down as you're doing it. Or you've already done it outside?
The outside is, I mean, we can get done pretty quickly, it's the inside that we need.
All right, let's see if we can work it out, between now and March 9th. What can we do, Mr. Woodward?
I could do, just hang on a second. I look at my calendar. I could do sometime, either on Friday the 21st, we could do it at the same time if that's available.
Ms. Staker, who's going with the inspection?
So for interior, it would be myself, Mr. Gilbert would come with, and then we were going to either get Michael Howell, the chief building official, and, or Mike Flynn, the fire
Do we
marshal.
have Mr. Flynn's schedule by chance, or do we know it?
Do you
We
have your
don't.
schedule, Mr. Howell?
We don't know it, but I mean, I know Howell's a little busier than Flynn, so we'll try to rope him into it.
I just,
Well, he's back there, so let's ask him.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Oh, you
Does
good
that
on
mean
the
you're free
21st?
that day?
Yes, sir.
I'm talking to Mr. Howell. He's
Oh, I'm
chief
sorry.
building
I
inspector.
thought you were looking at me.
Of February?
Yes,
Yeah. 21st?
21st, yes.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, so
Do
we'll have,
it at 4 p.m. that day? Does that work?
sure.
Okay.
February 21, 2020.
Okay. These steps right here, Sarah, when they built that deck, did they not think about make that ADA compliant?
Yeah, so that's one,
I didn't.
but the purpose of that photograph is to show that it's not compliant
Oh.
whatsoever.
Terry Lido wouldn't agree
No.
with that.
Absolutely
I
not.
can tell you that right now,
Absolutely not.
especially since we've updated the codes.
Right.
Um,
And if you've seen one of the photos from February, where the posts that come down are just kind of sitting on top of some cement blocks,
Yes, I see.
they're not actually cemented into the ground.
And some of the wood's not pressure treated, the 2x4s look like they're just standard wood, is
Yeah.
that correct? Because exterior, you have to use pressure treated.
I'm not sure altogether what the purpose of stairwell is. I don't know when that permit got pulled or who did any inspections related to it.
There
I haven't seen any of that.
Well, we'll obtain that information. So, if I hear this body right, I think I'm hearing that you all want to move this to March 9th with the condition that an inspection occur on February 21, 2020 at 4 p.m. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then based upon that inspection, we'll come back March 9th and identify, what repairs need to be made. It sounds like, Ms. Yance, that, there may need to be some repairs made, so just kind of be prepared.
Yeah, I know, I just wanted to get the permit,
Right.
so I can start it,
We
that's all I
can
wanted to
figure
do.
this out. Okay.
We get that in form of motion, so we'll have a little comment.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that on February the 21st, 2020, at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at Mike House there in Statesburg, and is you taking Mr. Gilbert with you?
Correct.
Okay, 3 of the codes people inspect that day with Mr. Woodward and Ms. Younts. And we will see you back here on March the 9th at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, have a motion.
Second.
Just,
What's the question, Mr. Wood?
Well, I understand. Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna let you
Y'all are in agreement with that, girl?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay.
we have a motion on the floor in a second. You can get a roll call. Vote, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens, yes, Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Woodward, thank you. Ms. Yance, thank you. And, look forward to seeing what can be done with the property.
We need to see the paperwork to him or
I think I heard Mr. Woodward's accepting all of it at this point forward.
Yes, that'd be fine, and I think Mr. Litchfield has my contact information. Thank you.
I